This is how billionaires pay 0% in taxes legally. It's a statement that sounds like a fantasy, a loophole reserved for a select few. But what if I told you it's not some secret handshake or complex offshore scheme? It's a powerful, yet surprisingly simple financial strategy that hinges on 3 words: buy, borrow, die. This isn't magic, it's a repeatable playbook used to build and preserve wealth for generations. And I'm going to show you exactly how it works, step by step. Step 1 is to buy. This means you own appreciating assets, things that are expected to grow in value over time. Think of a prime piece of real estate, a diversified stock portfolio, or a successful business. The key is that as these assets grow, that growth is an unrealized gain. It's wealth on paper, not cash in your pocket. Now here's where the strategy diverges from the norm. When you need cash, you don't sell the asset. You move to step 2. Borrow. You use your valuable asset as collateral, and a bank provides you with a loan or a line of credit. They wire cash directly to you, which you can then spend on whatever you want. Another investment, a new venture, or your lifestyle. And this is the critical distinction: that cash you just received is debt. And in the eyes of the tax code, debt is not income. Therefore, it is not taxed. If you had sold the asset instead, you would have created a taxable event, likely triggering a hefty capital gains tax on your profit. Selling creates taxable income. Borrowing gives you tax-free cash. This is the core difference most people miss, the fundamental principle that separates the wealthy from everyone else. The rich don't liquidate their wealth-generating engines for cash. They leverage them. They understand that debt can be a powerful tool when used correctly. Selling is a taxable transaction. Borrowing is a non-taxable one. That is the smart hustle. It's a simple sentence, but it requires complex and careful execution. Because a question immediately comes to mind: how do they manage this without drowning in interest payments or getting wiped out by market risk? The complete strategy breaks down into those 3 phases. First, you buy the right assets. Second, you borrow against them prudently. And third, you die, which triggers a unique and final tax advantage that completes the cycle. And woven throughout this entire process are the principles of compounding growth, controlled spending, and meticulous tax planning. So, let's begin our deep dive with Phase 1, the buy. Phase 1, acquire assets that tend to appreciate and produce cash flow. Real estate in prime markets, ownership in great businesses through equities, or private companies you build. The goal is growth over time. While you hold, the gains are unrealized and untaxed. Selling crystallizes gains and triggers taxes. Short-term can be taxed like ordinary income. Long-term is lower, but it's still a bite. Hold, let compounding work, avoid selling when you can. So how do you turn paper wealth into spendable cash? Enter leverage. Not wild, risky leverage. Structured, asset-backed lines. Borrowing time to low rates and strong collateral. Conservative loan-to-value, often 40 to 60%. Rates matter more than headlines. Now the borrow phase. Wealthy investors use securities-backed or real estate-backed credit lines. Example: $10 million in stocks, 50% LTV equals $5 million credit capacity. They draw only what they need. They pay interest, not income tax. If the after-tax cost of selling is higher than the interest, borrowing wins. They spend on life, invest in businesses, or buy more assets. Debt can become growth capital. No sale, no tax event. Often interest-only, flexible repayment. Cash flow from assets can cover the interest. But risk exists. Markets drop, collateral shrinks. Margin calls can force selling at the worst time. That's why conservative LTV is king. Keep liquidity reserves, match debt to durable assets and patient time horizons. Now, the final phase explains the tax magic. We now arrive at the final, and perhaps most misunderstood phase of the strategy. Die. This isn't about the end of a life, but the beginning of a new chapter for the assets. Under current U.S. law, upon an individual's death, many of their appreciated assets receive what's known as a step-up in basis. Let's clarify what that means. The basis is typically the original purchase price of an asset. If you bought stock for $1 million and it's now worth $10 million, your basis is $1 million. The $9 million increase is an unrealized capital gain. With a step-up, the basis for your heirs is reset to the fair market value at the time of your death. In our example, the basis becomes $10 million. For income tax purposes, that entire $9 million of lifetime appreciation effectively vanishes. The slate is wiped clean. But what about the loans that funded the original owner's lifestyle? Those debts don't disappear. They become an obligation of the estate. This is where the strategy's elegance becomes clear. The estate can now sell a portion of the assets to repay the debt. Because the assets were stepped up in basis, this sale generates little to no capital gains tax. It's a remarkably tax-efficient way to settle the liabilities. Once the debt is cleared, the heirs inherit the remaining assets with their new, higher basis. This powerful combination of borrowing against appreciation and then eliminating the associated gains at death is the legal backbone of the buy, borrow, die strategy. However, it is absolutely critical to understand that this strategy hinges on current tax law, which is always subject to change. The step-up in basis is a frequent topic of political debate, and proposals have been made to limit or eliminate it. Furthermore, federal and state estate tax exemptions, which are separate from capital gains taxes, also play a crucial role and vary significantly. This is not a do-it-yourself plan. Navigating this landscape requires sophisticated professional planning with legal and financial experts who can structure trusts, insurance, and other tools to align with your goals and adapt to a changing regulatory environment. The core idea is a masterclass in tax deferral and elimination. Avoid selling to defer taxes, borrow prudently to access liquidity, and allow the tax code to provide a reset at death. It's about using the rules as written, responsibly, with a deep respect for risk and a long-term perspective. So, how can the rest of us, the non-billionaires, thoughtfully adapt this powerful strategy without taking on reckless risks? The core principles are surprisingly accessible, even if the scale is different. It's not about mimicking a tycoon's lifestyle, but about applying the same financial logic to build your own secure future. First, focus on acquiring high-quality, appreciating assets. Instead of speculative single stocks, think broad, low-cost index funds that offer instant diversification. Or, consider solid, income-producing real estate in stable markets. These assets form the bedrock of your collateral. Next, build relationships with lenders you need the money. Open a checking account, establish a small line of credit, and maintain a great credit score. This track record makes you a reliable, low-risk partner when you eventually ask to borrow against your assets. When you do borrow, be conservative. Never max out your credit lines. A low loan-to-value ratio is your best defense against market volatility, and always maintain a substantial emergency reserve in cash, at least 6 months of living expenses, to handle unexpected costs without being forced to sell assets at the wrong time. Avoid selling your core assets just to fund consumption. Instead, use your credit lines sparingly for significant strategic needs, like a down payment on another property or bridging a temporary income gap. This allows your primary investments to keep compounding. Let's recap the core playbook. First, you buy and hold appreciating assets. Second, you borrow prudently against them for liquidity, allowing your investments to grow untouched. And third, you let time and compounding do the heavy lifting, while careful estate planning handles the final transfer of wealth. The fundamental principle is simple. Debt is typically not a taxable event, but selling an appreciated asset almost always is. By choosing strategic debt over selling, you can defer, reduce, and sometimes even eliminate taxes, keeping more of your capital working for you. Of course, interest rates, tax laws, and regulations are always changing and vary by location. This is a simplified illustration to explain a concept, not personal financial advice. If this breakdown helped you see wealth in a new light, subscribe and hit the bell for more financial playbooks made practical.